Hello guys, sorry, I was running a little bit behind then. Didn't realise the time. I was watching a couple of opportunities in the market. I've just been short cable and was looking to kind of continue to look for longs on oil as well. I've been long oil from last week, and the swap charges were a little bit getting a little bit bigger than I wanted them to be. I was trying to hold oil for quite a while, and swap charges were getting me a little bit. So what I've done is I've just kind of averaged in. So I've just taken all profits on oil this morning, and I'm looking for other entries long into oil, because obviously the analysis we did previously, I'm looking for oil to get to around about $89 essentially. So looking at longs oil. I'm also short cable at the moment, so I'll show you that in a second. I've already took first profits, but yeah, let's just flick over to these straight away. I'll start the stream off with a little bit of intraday trading and what I've been doing, because I'm just looking at potentially trying to run this down towards sort of 125.40. Like I said, I already took one position, already banked profits on the first position, and I added into a second position. I've left this one running though. I haven't moved stops just yet as well, so I'll just bring in my MetaTrader terminal here. You can see that basically, yeah, just got short in and around this area initially. Took a second short on the break of the sort of lows there on the 5-minute time frame. And I'm looking to see, can we try and stretch this down towards this area? Essentially, this sort of zone is what's kind of piquing my interest. But I'd like to see, can price run that zone there? So that's what I'm kind of eyeing up there. I'll just show you on trading view though. It's just a little bit easier to see. So that's what I'm kind of eyeing up here. And yeah, basically, can we see this kind of continuation to the downside? We've breached 125.60, which were these previous lows here. So I'm looking to see, can sellers remain fairly active? If I just bring on the volume profile for today, obviously it's been a very interesting day. We've had mainly a pullback from yesterday's bullishness from the dollar, which was to be expected. We built up a lot of volume here, and obviously we've got some increased volume down in this area. So we've breached this volume now. So, you know, I'm not really expecting us to revisit this to move higher. And if we did, then I'd look to exit that position. It's the second part of the position anyway. So I'm hoping that we hold below this area. If we can kind of hold below this volume, mainly below sort of 125.60, which is around here. If we can kind of hold below that, I'll be happy to kind of stay in this pound short. So basically, looking at this sort of momentum from yesterday, we had a really strong bearish daily candlestick. In the UK, it was a bank holiday, so I wasn't trading yesterday, unfortunately, because obviously that ISM manufacturing PMI data was pretty good. Gave a lot of volume. Could have easily got on the back of that. I was looking for shorts this week on cable, and yeah, unfortunately missed that move. So I'm trying to see, can this extend today? We've got these kind of lows down through here around 125.20s, 125, big number as well. Can we come and try and test maybe 125? That's what I'm kind of looking for here on cable at the moment. So yeah, first off, just thought I'd quickly start off by explaining that's what I'm kind of into at the minute, into a short on cable, looking to see if we can kind of trade that down towards this area here. If not, then we'll get out of that second position. Hello everybody. So who have I got in stream today? So we've got CG. Hi John. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. Good afternoon, Vincent, as well. I'm doing really well, thank you. Hope you are as well. And yeah, welcome to anybody that's new to the stream today. If you could leave a like, I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, still working on getting you guys some competition and whatnot. So I'm pretty close to sorting some competitions out. So I'll keep updating you that on a weekly basis. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys are looking to trade this week. We're going to go through the strength and weakness table. We're going to go through the currency heat map, see what I'm looking at for this week. There's quite a lot of pairs actually on here that are of interest to me. I'm eyeing up a couple of markets. CAD Swiss, I quite like the idea of being long on. And like I said, oil, really like the idea of being long oil. I've just taken profits on 4 positions long oil from last week. So I'm looking to get back in. The only reason I closed out those positions, I wasn't feeling the swap charges for another week. So what I thought about doing was just closing all positions out, just look for re-entries, see if I can try and get on some longs throughout the day. So let's have a quick flick over to oil actually. Why am I interested in long oil? Well, we've recently had quite a significant breakout from a technical analysis side of things, which I imagine most traders would be looking at. We've got this kind of upward trend developing on oil. Okay, the market's making higher highs, higher lows. Also put a trend line on the chart. You can see that we're clearly moving higher. And a lot of my strategies, or my swing trading strategies at least, are trend based. So I'm trying to identify markets that are going to find trend, move higher essentially. Now, as we broke through $80.50, I like the idea of being long because we started to really push higher throughout this kind of period here. You know, that is a sort of awkward uptrend, isn't it? The market's really kind of grinding its way higher. But as soon as we broke out of that area, I thought this could be a really decent move. We also looked at OPEC as well. We discussed the situation with OPEC looking to cut the production in barrels produced every day. A cut in the production will increase the demand, will increase the price of oil. So I'm looking to be a buyer off the back of that fundamental information. If we go up to the weekly chart, this was the low that we were kind of contending with last week on oil. We're now breached that. The next sort of area of interest for me is up towards, like I said, anywhere between sort of $80 I feel up to $89 is an area for me where I think I want to be targeting long oil at the moment. And then it's just about breaking this down. So we've got this kind of weekly bullish move going on at the moment. Daily chart is making higher high, higher lows. This is where we wanted to be long last week. We were talking about the potential longs in and around this consolidation pattern. So let me just take the session breaks off there. But we had this consolidation form on the 4-hour chart. This to me is what sort of I would call my bread and butter in terms of I like the idea of consolidation forming. I like the idea of watching to see how price breaks out of a consolidation. So we had the break higher. When price comes in, this is when I want to start being a buyer. I want to start being long in and around these areas. Now, I was actually long around 81.60 in and around this area from a lower time frame. But as price continued to kind of come and decrease and push back into this zone where volume was built up, this is where I really started to get long. So I added a couple more positions in here. I was in a couple of positions here, and the market has taken off. Now I'm looking for other opportunities to get into the market. So really speaking, what I like to do is just kind of eye up those areas of consolidation. So here, for instance, on oil, this is where I'm looking to be long. I want to see price kind of pull back towards 84.40, and that's where I want to start really looking to kind of averaging on a position again. Quite interesting though, we are starting to kind of form a little bit of bullish bias here. You can see there's like wicks coming down. We've recently broken the hourly high. Now, I don't really want to rush into this unless we get some kind of, again, consolidation breakout, essentially. And at the moment, we've got this. So this little high in here, this little low in there, and the market is kind of moving sideways within this position. So I'm looking to see, can we breach this maybe to the downside, come back into our higher time frame area of support, and then look for longs. Alternatively, if we're not going to get that deep retracement, do we breach out of this consolidation to the upside, retest, and then look for our long positions in the market, essentially? So Let me just move that arrow, something like that instead. So this is what I'm really keeping an eye on oil at the moment. Can we get a sort of consolidation break to the upside, or can we get a deeper retracement back in and around this area? Now, I like the idea of price coming back into like 4-hour level support and resistance, especially from a swing trading point of view. So yeah, I'm pretty much looking for price to kind of come back towards this larger area to be sort of a buy oil. So I'm just going to add an alert on oil around this area, and I'm going to look to see if I can get in a potential position there. You know, hopefully we can see some kind of development there. Who else have we got in as well? Right guy, morning. Hope you're doing well. Hi John, your views on dollar yen, will Japan government intervene? Yeah, there was a bit of a interesting conversation last week, wasn't there? So Japan officials, not the Bank of Japan, but Japan officials were calling for intervention. Okay, and they were almost saying that the price of dollar yen has risen quite aggressively the past couple of weeks. They're looking to potentially intervene, but that wasn't the opinions of the Bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan governor 𝖢𝖣yiِ was basically saying that they don't necessarily see the need to be aggressive just yet. So I actually think the Bank of Japan might be a little bit more comfortable with seeing prices above 152. And I think the intervention point would come around 160 spot 50. Now I might be wrong, obviously. You know, I'm not going to always I'm not always right, essentially. But it just seems to me like we're at a position now, we're not really seeing intervention coming into the market. So does that mean that we are going to see a potential breach of the sort of 152s? And if we look back at that sort of 160 level, this was this high that formed back in March of 1990. So I would probably be looking at 160. I think if we moved out of 152 range, I'd be looking towards 160 as an area for intervention from the BOJ. Although, you know, it's hard, isn't it? Looking at this price action here, I wouldn't necessarily say that's full of selling pressure at the moment. I think one thing we can do is just monitor this 152 area. If we start seeing breaches out of this kind of consolidation that I'm looking at the moment, then maybe we can start looking for sort of the sort of break and retest and a structure move to the downside. But that to me doesn't necessarily say, you know, we're going to be pushing low at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see. You know, like I said, when price consolidates, it's not a reason to get involved, okay? But price consolidating is a reason to wait, to sit on our hands and say, okay, well, there's obviously some buying and selling going on in here at the moment. The market's found sort of what I like to say is sort of fair value. When price breaches those fair values, it's then where's price going to go next? Where's the next sort of areas of interest in terms of support and resistance? So I'm looking to see, can we breach to the downside and then trade lower? Or if we breach 152, you know, the next sort of logical place is 160, just from looking at the chart. Okay, so just from a technical analysis point of view, the next level of interest is all the way up at 160. Whether we have any kind of technical parameters around that could help us kind of develop that area a little bit better, I don't know. I think, you know, if we look at sort of Fibonacci extensions, maybe not a huge fan of fibs in general, but sometimes on higher time frames I quite like the look of them. So, you know, fib extension of the current move, you're looking at sort of 127 extension up towards the 161. Let's bring in the other fib. If we go from the swing low to this recent swing high, you know, 161.8 to around about 157. So we haven't really got anything that's kind of jumping out to me from there from a technical indicator point of view. Just 160 is that high, And I love looking at highs and lows to look at opportunities to trade. I feel like they're areas where the market has obviously turned. So there's obvious buying and selling going on at those points. So that's where I'm looking to do business with the market. So we'll see, consolidation at an area of resistance after a strong push up can follow another strong push up. What a lot of traders used to look at was the sort of an extension of what's already happened. So if it was to break again, where would that kind of take you to in terms of an equal move? You got 157.75 as a potential there, but I don't know. 152 break is the important point for me. If we breach that, we're heading higher. If we stay below 152, then maybe we'll find a little bit of resistance. I mean, I did go on to my strength and weakness table this week and spot the fact that the yen is starting to get stronger against a few currencies. But whether that's because some of them are weak, then usually would see a bigger swing in the currency strength meter. Looking at the sort of line graph here, the Japanese yen has been kind of making its way sort of higher on a week by week basis. So there is a little bit of strength there. Whether it's the strength that we're looking for, doesn't seem to be. So we'll have to just sit on our hands. I mean, the fact that the US dollar is the strongest currency at the moment as well will play into the hands of the fact that the dollar yen price is moving sideways. If both of them are strong, I expect price to move sideways. You could probably go and look at maybe, I don't know, Aussie yen, maybe short at the moment, Euro yen potentially, or Kiwi yen. Sorry, I just had an alert go off on a pound CAD. I'm looking at a potential pound CAD short at the moment, so we'll have a little look at that in a second. But essentially, that's from this strength meter. We can see that the pound has come up into an area of reversal. We're starting to see the pound weaken. Its CAD has now surpassed it. So they're going in opposite directions. So potentially I want to be short pound CAD at the moment. So I'm actually, if I go down to pound CAD quickly, I can just show you what I'm looking at there. Any questions, guys, as well, feel free to throw them in. Psych, welcome to the stream. This is something that I built myself. If you want to have a little look at my one on a regular basis, you can join the VIP trading room. Let me just see how I got that up. Sorry, I'm just monitoring pound. I hope you can't hear the noise from MetaTrader pinging off. Let's have a quick look. See if I can load this up. But yeah, I post it on my update channel on the VIP trading room. So if you're a Blueberry Markets client with a deposit of $200, you can get access to a VIP trading room where I put most of my analysis. So yeah, this is what I've been talking about lately. So currency heat map posted daily. Talking a little bit about the NFP data coming up as well. The ISM manufacturing PMIs, and then the currency strength meter here. You can just click on that. Feel free to take a screenshot if you wish, and grab that. So I'll leave that there for a second. But yeah, essentially looking at the sort of downside here in the pound, Swiss franc's starting to give a little bit of strength. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking at this thinking that we're going to see some Swissy strength at the moment, to be honest, just because of what the Swiss National Bank has sort of done recently. I actually think that maybe the Swiss franc has got a little bit of a way to go. So I'm not seeing this as a reading of looking at Swiss strength at the minute. Typically I would be looking at pound Swiss longs at the moment from a convergence point of view, and I'd be very much looking at that for heavy, short ideas. Pound Swiss, but I don't see the Swiss franc strengthening if the Swiss National Bank are going to continue to cut rates at the moment. So I don't really see that happening. But yeah, I've just had another alert pop off as well. All the alerts are popping off while I'm on stream today. I'm saying that, and the Swiss franc has actually strengthened quite a lot in the recent sort of hour. So maybe I should ignore the fundamentals there and go with what my strength meter is telling me. But yeah, essentially you can come over to the VIP trading room. If you scroll down, there's an area called Market Analysis. I've got my own little channel there, John's Updates, and you can have a little look at that. So very lovely, John. Let me make some withdrawals. I'll hit you up. Nice one. Yeah, look, you drop a message in there as well. You can DM me and everything in there if you want to have a chat. So yeah, hit me up. So pound CAD. I like the idea of being short pound CAD. So essentially I came to the chart over the weekend and was having a little look at the sort of trend that was developing here. And with the currency heat map, what I like to do is highlight strength and weakness, essentially monthly close, weekly closes, and then I like to monitor where price is in line with the 200 daily moving average. I then like to look at the momentum. So is price moving towards that 200 daily moving average, or is it moving away? And what is the sort of trend? So on pound CAD, if I just zoom up a little bit in here, I noticed that strength and weakness was saying that I wanted to be bearish. Monthly close was bearish. Weekly close was bearish. I was above the 200 moving average, but moving towards it. And the trend is bearish, and we're in a primary phase. So what that basically means is the monthly chart was bearish last month. The weekly chart closed bearish. I'm looking for continuations to the downside. Where am I looking for those continuations to? Now, this is where we've got to kind of pick out a few points. So I like highs and lows. So if I was a seller of the market, where would I be looking to sell to? Or if I wanted to be a buyer of the market, where would I want to be a buyer from? That's the way I kind of look at things, because do you want to be a buyer right now? Probably not. You want to be a buyer down towards the swing lows, in my opinion. Now, we could come a little bit earlier than that because we do have a whole number. So if you look at the coordinates here, 1.7, you know, nice psychological number. We can see that price has attached itself to here quite a lot recently. So if I want to get short now, you know, first target has got to be 1.7. Okay, it has to be 1.7. Second target, I can try and let it run towards 169.70. Okay, so I'm looking to see, can we get that little bit more of a push to the downside here? So daily close was bearish. I come to the 4-hour time frame, and all I do on the 4-hour time frame is highlight areas that I think the market may want to move towards. So the actual first area was this swing high. Okay, so you've got the 4-hour time frame here. You've got this high that formed around about 1.7045. 4-hour candle has tried to breach it, close below. So that's a potential sign that buyers aren't really looking to engage above this level. Okay, so now can we potentially see that kind of continuation down to 1.7? The other area I quite like is a little bit higher up, because obviously there's lots of volume going on up here because the market moved sideways, okay, and then broke out. So naturally, you know, I'd want to see price maybe retesting this zone before looking for that continuation. Also, from a risk and reward perspective, if I was going to try and get short, let's say, you know, towards the highs of that range, my stop can be fairly tight, and I've got a lot of room to the downside there in terms of my risk reward ratios. Short in here, okay, stop is in a little bit of a dangerous place. The safest place for my stop loss would be back up here. So the risk reward ratio is not great. So that forces me to do one or two things. One of those things is to go to a lower time frame. So what I've actually outlined on my chart above me is the 15-minute time frame, and I'm essentially watching this. that's developing here. Okay, because again, if we consolidate sideways and then sellers, let's say, win, beat out the buyers there, buyers give up, then maybe we get something like that happening. Okay, so my alert went off because we just breached this low, but we can see that those sellers that were selling up at the high there, 1.0750, they're getting out. They're exiting that position at the moment. So we need to wait. I need to see a close below, evidently strong close below. That'll give me the idea of then continuing to look for some downside pressure on pound CAD. But at the moment, it's not there. I'm looking at cable above me. That's starting to come back a little bit, starting to head back towards second trade break even. But I'll just keep a little eye on that on the side. But yeah, if we do get a break and close below, so what I'll tend to do as well is I'll tend to just kind of add a secondary alert below that recently formed low, because if we do continue to make that, then hopefully we can continue to push to the downside there. But pound CAD is definitely on my list. I think if we look at it from a higher time frame perspective as well, although we can argue that that is a new higher high, overall, we're coming up into that strong level of resistance, which we actually spoke about a while ago. This was a good area that we were talking about being targets on longs, and now that's starting to see a little bit of weakness develop. Again, I should ask myself the question, if I want to be a buyer, where would I want to be a buyer from? It's down here. So can I short down to that point in the meantime? So yeah, just watching that as well. Like CAD longs at the minute. CAD seems to be a bit stronger. Vincent, since the Swiss is a safe haven asset and the dollar is strengthened, don't you think that the strength meter is right about the Swiss getting stronger irrespective of the fundamentals? Yeah, at the end of the day, the strength meter is technically right because it's based off of technical analysis. It's based off of technical patterns. So if a market is in an upward trend, it will score positively. So in theory, yeah, the strength meter is right. But obviously fundamentals are the driving factor behind price action anyway. So, there's always a saying as well. You can be on the sort of right side of the market and you can still be a losing trader, right? So, let's say you were on the gold bull rally and you were trying to buy gold throughout the whole thing, but you kept putting your stop losses too tight. You're gonna get beaten in that way. So yes, the Swiss franc, I like the fact that the strength meter is telling me that it's getting stronger, but is that just a little bit of a pullback from the recent sort of weakness that we've had that formed after this kind of Swiss National Bank event? I just think that the Swiss franc should remain a little bit weaker, and that's because as well, Swiss National Bank were talking about needing the price of the Swiss franc to be weaker to help with their exports and things like that. So if a central bank is essentially telling you that something's going to get weaker, that's something that we should really take into consideration. Now, the markets move; they don't move in straight lines, do they? They have ebbs and flows. So at the moment, what it's telling me is that the Swiss franc is just stronger than a few currencies, but it just might be stronger than the ones that are a little bit weaker. Euro, for instance, has been a little bit on the downside. But if I look at that Euro Swiss chart, we're breaking out of these highs in here. So do I want to be a short seller of Euro Swiss right now? Probably not, And if I want to be a buyer of Euro Swiss, then that's Swiss weakness. If I take a look at pound Swiss, we're breaking out highs again. Aussie Swiss as well, starting to break out of these areas. So yeah, the strength meter's correct, but we also have to kind of think about the bigger picture as well. Swiss yen is an interesting market. Swiss yen, we talked about the breakout of this, again, the range. It retested the range. It traveled lower. We're kind of getting stuck around 167. Again, highs and lows. Look at market formed a low in this area. Price is struggling to to kind of get through that low at the moment. So if we can breach the low, I'll look for the next area, which is sort of this trend line support around about 165. But I haven't participated in any of this move, to be honest. Got to sit and wait, see how that performs. Let's have a quick flick over. I'm just keeping my eye on oil as well. Although we have set an alert on oil, so I will leave that one alone. Silver back up at 25.50. You know, very much been long silver since price came to $22. Really like the idea of being a buyer of silver. Only managed to catch a short move, actually. I was long around $24 up towards that $25.50 area. So I didn't manage to actually catch the $22 move, but we're back up at this resistance area. Let's have a little look at the gold silver ratio. Hasn't quite come down into this area yet. Let's have a quick flick over to gold. Now, obviously gold performing really well at the moment. Even despite the fact that the US dollar index or the US dollar has been a stronger currency in general, gold has still really performed really well at the moment. And that's quite an interesting idea, the fact that gold's rallying, stock markets are rallying as well. So very, very interesting. I don't see a top in gold just yet. I know we discussed the commitment of trader reports last week. So if we go take a look at those quickly, having a look at commitment of trader reports, I usually like to see sort of extremes being seen from both non-commercials and commercials, and we're not quite seeing that yet on gold. So hang on one second, add the study, commitment of traders, add that there. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. You know, not really seeing aggressive selling coming in from commercials at the moment. So I want to see a little bit more aggressive selling, you know, because you got to think, if you were a owner of gold right now, you'd be trying to sell gold. Okay, you would be trying to sell gold because price is high. So you want to be selling gold when price is high, buying it when prices are lower. So what's quite interesting about this, you know, if you look at it from sort of technical patterns and whatnot, there's like this really nice sort of consolidation that formed. Now this is a weekly chart, but that little area there would be a great area to be a buyer again. So, you know, looking to see if price continues to push higher, do we get that pullback? Do we get that pullback towards 2200 again? And that's when some further buying can come in. But yeah, looking for the extremes. So I don't think there's a top on gold just yet. I think we're probably going to see a little bit more upside in gold before it does start to turn around. Let's have just a quick flick over to pound CAD. My alert's gone off. Oh, that's the rally there. So don't need to do anything there. It's more to do with CAD, I think, because cable hasn't really rallied at the moment. So I'll have to sit out of this one. It might be coming back up into this 4-hour zone instead. And this is a really good example of waiting for the price action to formulate like you want it to do. And that's a really good example of that. Because if I just started to short because I saw a bearish engulfing candle on a 15-minute chart, then, you know, a lot of people will be placing their stop losses here. They'd have been wiped out right now. You've got to wait for that change in direction. You know, we're not seeing it here at the minute. So let's see now what happens. See if price can pull back up a little bit more. Like I said, I'd like to see my next sort of alert to the upside is around about 1.7068. So around that area there would be nice. Let me know what you guys are looking at as well. Obviously, we can take a little look at the dollar index. Flew last week. Sorry, it was quite quiet last week. Monday was when we had some real aggression And we've started to see some talk from the Fed that they're not in any rush to cut rates. That was kind of what Fed Chairman Powell said last week. So we're starting to see a little different language now. You know, the dot plot moved higher, so you know it went from sort of six cuts to 3 cuts, and then not cut as much. Then we had that ISM manufacturing PMI data, which kind of put a little bit of a hold on things. You know, 50.3. That's the first time it's been above 50 since sort of November 2022. So, you know, the risk really here is the fact that we're going to get a little bit more of a boost in that inflation pressure, and that's what they don't want. They don't want inflation to be moving higher. Now, a really good place that you can go and have a look at inflation reports is tradeandeconomics.com. So, you know, we can go and have a little look at all different types of things here. But if you go to indicators, you can come down to the inflation rate and you can view it for yourself. This is the inflation rate at the moment. If we actually go back, inflation rate month on month, you can see that the inflation rate went up to 0.4% last month. So, you know, that is a little bit of a trend higher there. Okay, if you look at the overall inflation rate in the US, that has obviously come down. You know, we go to a 5-year chart. You know, you can see since it peaked in June 2022, we have been on that sort of downward trajectory there. But since sort of June 2023, we've gone a bit sideways. So now we're starting to see that inflation's getting a bit sticky here. And that's not what the Fed want to see. So are they going to start talking up the idea of leaving rates higher for longer again? And is that going to start bringing that inflation rate down, where they can start then saying, yeah, we need to start cutting at that point? I think the jobs number is going to be really important this week. Obviously, we've got JOLTS job openings coming up in about 20 minutes. But ISM Services PMI, you know, if you have a little look at ISM Services PMI, that has also been on that sort of downward trajectory through here. But again, kind of a little bit stuck. We're not seeing much movement in that. But really speaking, Federal Chair Powell speaking is going to be important, but also this NFP data. You know, I think if we see a big miss to the upside again, which we have seen, if you go and take a look at the chart here, you know, the last sort of 4 announcements have been above expectations. Yes, we did get a revision on the last one, but it was still 229k. I think anything above 200k is usually seen as a good benchmark for job numbers. So that says 205k. I think they'd want to see it below that. I think they'd want to see it way below 205. But yeah, this is the game at the moment. It's what are the Federal Reserve going to do? What is that dollar index going to do? And, you know, will it kind of hold here at 104.90s, or will it breach and head up to the 106s? Chris, good morning. Milo, good morning. Potential buying opportunity on NASDAQ. Okay. Yeah, to be honest, we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback on stocks at the moment, aren't we? But yeah, anywhere in those lows, I think looks pretty good. Like you said, 18,000 below, you know, 17,900s. Yeah, you know, like anywhere in and around that area. I'll add a little alert on that. Let's have a look at the DAX. Starting to give back some of those gains. FTSE as well. So I was long FTSE last week, in at these 4-hour lows. Was long up into these highs where I took profit, but you know, starting to see a little bit more of a pullback here. So the next sort of area again is down towards this sort of 790, 793 area. So see if we can get any kind of opportunity to be maybe a sort of buy the FTSE. FTSE not as sort of rampant as other markets. I guess that's because UK recession and whatnot. But we did get quite an aggressive move recently, but we're now back into those highs, those February 2023 highs. So be interesting to see if we breach these. Can we get a little bit more upside there? But yeah, I quite like stock longs, to be honest. So any kind of pullback here could be good. You know, NASDAQ looking pretty good. S&P 500 making a bit of a drop at the moment as well. So, you know, maybe we can see a little bit of a decline here. I've still got my alert set on the S&P. Tried to get in long, but the alert just didn't go off. So I haven't been able to get long in this market yet. So yeah, I think any kind of opportunities like that is something to be, you know, looking for. You know, again, look at that consolidation on the daily chart. If the price comes back into there could be some good ideas to get long. So I'm going to add a few alerts there as well. Whoa, Bitcoin's down 7% today. Starting to top out a little bit, Bitcoin at the moment. Probably waiting for the halving, which is actually coming up very, very shortly. A quick flick over to cable, see what cable's doing. So starting to get a little bit of a pullback, you know. So we'll see if I can hold below this 25.60. If we can hold below 25.60, I'll happily hold this. If we start to break back up within this zone here, I'll start to scale out that position. 𝖢𝖥𝖣yi's currently looking at Kiwi yen at the moment. I see a 4-hour buy zone a bit downward. Lower time frame, 30-minute bearish, trying to sell more from the 30-minute area of interest to that 4-hour buy zone. Yeah, let's go take a look at that. Kiwi's been a bit under pressure recently, hasn't it? So Kiwi struggling a little bit to gain any kind of momentum. It's just the yen factor of that. The yen factor of that scares me a little bit. You know, like strength meter saying that yen's getting stronger, but the fundamentals there are a little bit wild, and yen pairs are wild. You know, that to me on a weekly chart is a little bit scary. Lovely consolidation through there. That price is now in. So if we were going to take a look at volumes, you know, we're in all that large volume area. So look at the 4-hour. Yeah, we're kind of piecing some lower letters together, although, you know, that wasn't very convincing on a new low being formed there. But I don't see buyers coming in here at the minute. I don't see strong buying momentum there. So there's a good possibility that that breaks and that moves down to sort of the low end of the range there, 89.80. But that's going to be purely driven by what the New Zealand dollar's doing, because yen at the moment is not really doing a fat lot. You know, we could argue the fact that we're at that weekly resistance. So technically, from a technical point of view, you'd want to be short. You won't really want to be buying right now, but I'd be scared to short that right now. Although we are starting to see stocks decline a little bit. Let's take a look at the 10-year. Now, this could be a good driving factor behind what the US dollar does next. We obviously found some lows here, but we're now breaching the sort of highs that recently formed in February and March. And, you know, 10-year yields on the up can flow over into the US dollar index or the US dollar in general. You know, if we do start to see bond prices climbing, that's usually positive for the currency. So could start to see a little bit of upside to the US dollar here. So definitely keep an eye on your bonds at the minute. Your bonds are going to be really important to have a little look at. The VIX is actually up 10% today. So VIX going up, stock market's moving lower, makes sense. Let's have a little look, see if oil's pulling back. Oh, came right into that high there, 89.47. My CAD Swiss alert went off as well, so we'll go take a look at that in a second. That's a strong a little move to the upside there on oil. I might position myself in oil a little bit. Might take a very, very low risk move, like 0.25% move in oil. Because if it does take off, I want to at least have a little bit in it, you know. Because if we go to the let's have a look at the 30-minute, 15-minute. Obviously, that sell-off there has invited quite a bit of buying. If it could come lower, I'll you know, sometimes it's good to position yourself in a market rather than try and sort of find the low point and try and get in sometimes. So you can kind of average yourself in. So like I said, last week I was long 4 times, basically down all in this area here, and just played the patient game, and price started to rally. Again, fundamentals play a big part in what's going on here. Supply and demand play a big part of what's going on here. But essentially as well, we could just, you know, sit and wait. Can price kind of breach in from a technical point of view? Look at your lower time frames. You know, is that 15-minute area going to hold? Is it going to breach the high there? You know, maybe that's something we could look at as well. Yeah, interesting markets at the moment. Starting to get a little bit of a flow, aren't we, with some opportunities. Let's flick over to CAD Swiss then. So CAD Swiss on my radar from the currency strength meter. Last week we were bullish. Looks to me like we could be heading up towards these kind of highs. If I was going to make it a little bit tighter, I'd be looking at sort of this area here that formed back in September. Daily chart recently just broken out of this consolidation. If we look at it on a 4-hour, this is what I'm talking about. This consolidation within here. Price has broken out. It's come back to it now. So very much on my radar here. Looking to see, or what I would typically look for now is a change of trend on a lower time frame. So I can see obviously prices almost formed a little bit of a head and shoulders there. It's broken down. Can we do something like this again? You know, start pushing back to the upside now. So CAD Swiss is definitely something to have a little look at. I just feel, again, got a strong strength meter opportunities here. So I like the idea of looking at that. Nice little volume zone as well. So, you know, might pull a little bit lower. A point of control around this area here. So we'll see. Again, just have to sit and wait. See if we get any kind of price action forming around that point. Could be good. To wait and see. Blimey, guys, we've been running for 50 minutes. No likes on the stream yet. Can we get a couple of likes? 20 of you in here. Wouldn't mind, you know. If you've learned something new, please hit the thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, essentially, looking at this cable trade, all I was looking at was the fact that we had a big move to the upside into the recently formed high. And I was just wondering, are we going to get a rejection here? We kind of breach back below this low in there. So I basically looked for a little bit of a rally to try and get short on, which is what I ended up doing. I ended up adding a short position at 25.63, I think it is on my chart. 25.63, yep. And look and see if this can play out a little bit. See if we can get some more downside on cable. It's very similar to Euro at the moment, although I haven't seen the numbers out of Germany yet. Let's have a look. German prelims CPI month-on-month 0.4%. So it's expected to come in a little bit higher, but it's stayed the same. So it's not dramatic in any way, shape or form. But looking at this sort of Euro downside here, you know, very strong daily close yesterday. You know, I like to see that momentum going to continue. again, where would you want to be a buyer? You'd want to be a buyer down here. As a seller, where would you want to target? You want to target down here. So that's what I try and, base a lot of my stuff off. Where are those buyers and sellers going to be active? The only difference between this one and cable is obviously we've breached the recently formed swing highs on the 4-hour time frame. If I flick back over to cable and go to the 4-hour, we tried to breach the highs but then close back below it. So, that was the only kind of discrepancy between the two at the moment. But yeah, maybe we're going to try and get back up here. This is the sort of high impact data volume up here. Maybe price is going to come and retest that before kind of moving back to the downside again, kind of filling this low volume area at the moment. So the wait and see, I think, with euro, but I do like downside still. I'd be definitely looking for a bit of a downside move to come on any kind of dollar pair, really. Let's have a look at dollar Swiss. I mean, let's talk a bit of Swiss strength started to come in the market. Any questions, guys? Let me know. If not, I'll probably leave it there. We've done about 50 minutes, so let me know. So really speaking, this is what I've got on my watch list this week. Looking for dollar longs, essentially. Euro dollar downside, pound dollar downside, Kiwi dollar downside are on my list. Dollar Swiss looking for potential long ideas. Aussie CAD shorts I quite like. CAD Swiss longs I like. Euro CAD shorts, pound CAD shorts, and Kiwi CAD shorts at the moment. Those are kind of the markets that I'm focusing on at the moment. And yeah, on a daily basis, I'll just have a little look at the daily closes, see if it matches up with the bias, and then, can we get a potential continuation of those? So yeah. Farouk, what do you think about CAD yen? Okay, let's go explore CAD yen. Haven't looked at CAD yen in a while, to be honest. I mean, again, this market looks like it could push higher, couldn't it? Looking at that monthly chart, last month's close was nice and bullish. We even closed above sort of some key highs, 110s. We're in that sort of zone, aren't we? This was where we kind of spoke about a long while ago. If I go to the weekly chart and just zoom all the way back, this was the sort of areas we were looking at, this kind of swing high, this high in here. Haven't really pushed on since then, but again, last week was quite strong. I mean, I'd be looking at maybe breaks of that trend line to the upside. So let's say tomorrow, let's say it stayed like this at the moment. And the reason why it's staying like this is because dollar yen's at 152. Dollar yen breaches 152. CAD yen's above this trend line resistance. I'd be looking for CAD yen up to 115, spot 50, or 115 at least. If we see the opposite of that, breakdown of the area where dollar yen is at the moment, then I'll be looking for a little bit of a short. But dollar CAD on the flip side of that, really close to this 136, very much range bound market. Looks like it's going up, but when you kind of look at this sort of area there, it's not very consistent with a trend. So 136 is a sticking point. So again, kind of ask myself the question, what do I need? If I want to be CAD yen long, what do I need to see? Well, I need to see dollar yen moving higher, and I need to see dollar CAD moving lower, because that's what would equal CAD yen longs. So if dollar CAD's sort of held here and just kind of continued to move sideways, but dollar yen breached 152 to the upside, I'll be looking at CAD yen long ideas. Definitely. But it's quite a nice area if you think about it. It's primed for a bit of a move, isn't it? It's up at that sort of 111.75. It's kind of trying to make its way higher, but it's at these kind of really significant highs. So yeah, I think the last time we talked about this, we were kind of short in this area, and that's why I've got all this kind of alerts and stuff going on. You are welcome. Just watching cable. Cable's continuing to kind of push to the downside a little bit. It's not kind of finding as much sort of selling pressure as I'd really like, but you know, it's nothing to worry me right now. I think anywhere above, like I said, anywhere above 125.60, I'd start to bail this position, but we'll have to wait and see if it can continue lower. Okay then, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've been running for about 55 minutes, so I'm going to call it a day there. Thank you to everybody that's joined the stream today. Really appreciate all your comments, questions, and for you to taking your time to come and have a little look. So CG, Vincent, Ryguy, Sky, or Syke, sorry, Chris F, Milo, Farouk, thank you very much for commenting. If you could leave the stream a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm trying to work on some competitions for you guys as well, so I'll get on those, and hopefully we can start giving some prizes away. So that's something I'd really like to do. So keep an eye out for that. Have a great rest of your trading week. I'll be back on lives on Thursday, and yeah, catch you later, guys. Cheers.